Thank you all for joining this episode. Today is going to be a very relaxed conversation because I think she's actually our first female guest, and it's good to have like a different perspective of how things are going as related to the conversation at hand. How did I do it? So here with me is Aisha. I went through her profile and I binged through a lot of her content, and she's someone I consider a content maestro. She has close to a decade of brand and comms experience. 6 out of those 7 years is as a business owner, which is remarkable from my own perspective. That is something that is worth emulating and is something I'm personally proud of as a black woman trying to push the frontiers in terms of corporate. And she's also currently a PhD candidate. She has been a co-founder and founder of 3 businesses and currently the founder of Corporately Lucid, a media agency that service-based businesses, and she's situated in Lagos. So thank you so much for joining Aisha.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
All right, so we're just gonna go straight into it. This conversation is mostly trying to help new entrants into the markets, that is the job markets, and also emerging professionals, because there is so much that we can still learn from each other, even though we consider ourselves somewhat established into our jobs or our careers. The conversation is centered around this just first question, Aisha. How did you do it?
Okay, thank you once again for having me here. It's a pleasure to be here. So the question, how did I do it? For me, I would say it's a combination of growth, consistency, and the willingness to put myself out there. Yeah, those 3 things. First, growth is being able to look at where I'm coming from, where I'm going to, and then say that, okay, I need to close this gap by doing this and this, and then I would be able to close the gap. So for me, I always see myself as a lifelong learner. I don't, I've never thought of myself as someone who has arrived, because I believe that there's always a new level to attain to. There's always how you can improve yourself. There's always a better you, really. Now, when it comes to consistency, I believe that whatever that you're doing and you're willing to be better at it, you should also show up, do what's required and do it on a consistent basis. So the third thing for me would then be the willingness to put myself out there. And that's in some way, some people would call it personal branding. That's key. And that's part of also what I train people on. I have seen that play a huge role in my career journey, personal branding. I've had people just reach out to me to say, oh, we want to have you on this project. We want to have you on our team. Not because I applied or reached out to them that I want to be on that team, but because they have seen the things that I put out, they like what they see, and they would like me to add value. So yes, those 3 things are very key for me, and that stands. They were the key factors on my how I did it journey.
Thank you for that answer. And it's just very typical of brand people to always have pillars, as you put it. And the pillars that you just pointed out, they're very succinct, they're very clear. That is growth, and growth is you wanting to learn, which I'll come to. And you wanting to learn means that it gives you an opportunity to improve on your previous self. That takes you to the future self that you aspire to be. And consistency, you just need to like show up. Everybody will have bad days. There are days that you won't feel the need to want to do it. But what I always try to do to myself, and it's a technique that I try to say to myself early in the morning is like, nobody's going to come. I think because as young people growing up, we always have you done this? Have you done that? Have you done this? Have you done that? All our lives, we get very comfortable and you feel like something is going to like change your course. Grace will come. Somebody will tell you, come and do this, come and have this opportunity. No, nobody's going to come. Nobody's coming to save you. It now takes me to the last point that you talked about, which is personal branding. So I want to touch on the first point and the second one. In terms of learning, in terms of being a lifelong student, what are the actual things that you did that has made you stand out so far and has improved you? This question is about you sharing an insight into your career so that the listeners would be able to pick a few things or two that they have not done yet that probably they could add to their arsenal to help improve their chances of getting the career that they desire.
Okay, thank you so much for that question. And I like sharing this because for me, it provides more context. So while I was in school, that was for my master's program, I had finished my NYC then and was trying to like get a job so that I know I'm kind of like schooling and then working at the same time. But at that point, I was on different job boards because I studied mass communication for my BSc and then mass communication for my master's degree. I had a mass communications background, and if you are very familiar with the curriculum then, I don't know how it is now. It's more of, communication in terms of PR, broadcast, print. So when I was just searching for a job, I then came across a whole lot of social media job adverts, social media related, content writing related, job adverts, things like that. For me, it was startling. I was like, how is this? How do I even like, where do I start from? What's the meaning of social? I had to go and look at it online. Okay, what does this mean? And then fortunately for me, I had a friend then in school who was already into this, and I told her about it. And then she volunteered to introduce me to the industry. So she took out a day, we sat down together. She explained to me what the industry is all about and then gave me some pointers as to how I can learn what the industry demands. And that was how I started and I got into the industry. That for me signifies the importance of also being able to ask questions and not being shy, even if we are both in the same class. Being able to ask questions is very key. It's very key. So that was the first thing that I did. The other thing that I did was after I got into the industry, things that stood me out really was actually being able to identify the gray areas. I always like to do that. And the truth is that there are a lot of free resources out there, a lot. And I always have my own list of credible sites that I can go to just learn, to see what the new update is. Because in my industry, which is media and mostly more of marketing, social media branding, things happen so fast that if you're not updated, you would just have like a still understanding of that industry. So I always try to just learn more and then practicing, because when I spoke with my friend and she introduced me to the industry, that gave me a better understanding of how to go in as an employee. So I was able to get a job and things like that. And then I was even practicing on the side with my own side projects. Now, when it comes to practicing as well, I always say that always find something to do with what you've learned. And the reason why I'm pointing this out, because it was also instrumental in my journey. I started just with my own brand, managing my own pages. It wasn't like somebody told me, "Oh, can you manage this page?" I just created profiles that I was managing, built my own DIY sites. Just I was just doing my thing. And then one day I went for an event, and then I met somebody who I admired her work online. I just went up to her and I introduced myself to her, and then she was like, "Oh, nice. Oh, can I see what you've done?" And that was it for me. I was able to show what I have done with the things that I practice on my own that nobody gave me to do. So it was just my own project. And that gave me the opportunity to work with her. And that really helped my career and slash business journey. So yes, those were the key things. For me, it's more of, just to reiterate, asking the right questions, learning, and practicing.
Your response to that is that it hits home in a fashionable way, and it's a trend that I've noticed amongst all the conversations that I've heard, that I've had with different professionals. I noticed that there are people and there are leaders, and the leaders that I've been speaking with, it always stems from certain elements of what you just talked about. Many of them had no idea where to start from, and they got into the industry as a result of them working with somebody that was somewhatly established within the industry, which you can call that networking or mentoring. After taking that time out, that 6 months, 1 year deep dive into understanding what the industry is about, what the job entails, they also now started implementing what they knew. And I mentioned earlier, nobody's coming. So they didn't wait around and said, okay, I have a certification in Udemy, I have a Coursera certification. Okay, yeah, good job. You've done that already. You tried to get yourself certified. What have you done with it? And it is the people who have that mindset at a younger age. NYSC undergraduates, just immediately after NYSC, that have that, I want to say, killer instincts, are the ones that are able to separate themselves really, really fast from the pack. And the reason why I said mindset is that when they get into the field properly, they are much more hungrier, because they have an idea of how being proactive. They've tasted the dividends of being proactive, and they are there because they were proactive. Which takes me to the next question that is tied to what you talked about, because you alluded to it in your last response around personal branding. Tell me about it.
So really, I always say that personal branding is just offering value, putting yourself out there to offer value. And the reason why I always lead with value is because most people don't realize that they already have the value in them. They think that, oh, they have to have attained some certain kind of heights before they begin to position themselves. So, and what I always say is that you can actually build your brand where you are now and improve as you go on, because your career, your business, it's a journey. So even when you attain that height that you want to attain, there's still another level that you're looking at going. So you can't always suspend personal branding. It's something that is there, that is even being done without you knowing, because people already have a perception of you, your skills, and the value that you offer, regardless of if you're consciously doing it or not. It is really key because it has so many benefits. People get to know you for something, even if that something changes. That's why some people are perhaps scared of being known for something. That, okay, what if I have a different interest in that? Even if that thing changes, there's always going to be a thread of connectedness from where you were before and where you are now. So I believe every professional, every business owner must consciously build a personal brand.
You're right. And I read a tweet from someone this morning. His name is Milton. He's the CMO of Triseller. It's an online marketplace for digital products. The chicken is, he said that when startups failed, because we've seen online where a few startups are failing and they're returning money back to investors. He said when they fail, they blame the marketing team, and when they succeed, the marketing team is nowhere to be found. And someone responded to that tweet that the game is the game. that marketers should take their personal branding seriously, or else they will be left behind. If you want to stay behind a keyboard, no problem. But if you are not able to put yourself out there, as I said earlier, nobody's coming. So if you build something for yourself, for non-profit organizations, for small businesses, or you did it for a business that you're working with, you should try to like put as much information out there about yourself, how you did it, and avoid breaching NDAs, but try to make sure that something is out there. There's a digital footprint towards your strides and accomplishments. And because you're young, there's a possibility that you might lose interest and want to do something else. So anyone that wants to invest in that something else can clearly see how much work that you've put into the previous
Yeah.
things, and it gives them that confidence to want to invest in your talent, invest in your venture, whatever it is that you want to put out there for people to come and contribute in. And because you know how to put in the work the previous time, you are not scared to put in the work all over again. And thank you so much for calling that out, Aisha, because it's something that we don't talk about well enough. So as a founder, and as a business owner, and that has worked across different businesses, you have the opportunity to work with people, be it contemporaries, or be it people who you manage. You've worked with different people, peers, and also you probably have been managing different people, particularly younger professionals that are new to the game, quote unquote. So, what are the elements that you think that has been missing amongst who people usually call Gen Zs when things don't go right? It's like, what are the things that you think is missing that a listener can pick up on and brush up and be the best version of themselves?
Thank you for that question. So there are just a few for me. The first one is what I would call teachability, the ability to, be teachable. And once I spot that in anybody, it just signifies to me that that person is going places, because the person already is setting themselves up for success. And just imagine you join a company, whether you're a marketer, a content writer, a graphics designer, whoever it is that you are. You might have your own knowledge that you brought to the company. However, the company has its own guides, style guides, mode of operations, how they prefer things to be done, how they want to go the extra mile to ensure that they have client satisfaction. So if you are somebody who is coming and then you're saying, oh no, this is how I was taught, or this is how I learned it, I don't want to hear what you have to say, then you cannot even work in that kind of place. So you have to submit yourself and then be able to learn. Not just that, the being able to also see some areas that you need to improve on, because let's take writing for instance. For content writers, you may be the best writer in your field, but then it could be that the industry that you want to write for, perhaps oil and gas or cybersecurity, or one of these industries that you need a bit of technical context to, you need to be able to perhaps even leave what you know already, just pen that down, leave that alone, and then learn what the industry wants, what the best practices are. So anybody who is willing to do that, that alone would stand them out. And then the other thing is going the extra mile. I know that some people don't like to do that again, because of those who have perhaps taken advantage of such cases. I mean, there
Hmm.
are people who would take advantage of that, and then there are people who would really appreciate that. So going the extra mile to me is doing something, I mean, beyond what the JD is, or beyond what you were just paid to do. Because what it shows is that it shows that you have the potential to handle more. It shows that if they give you this more responsibility here, that means they don't even need to go and look for somebody outside of the team. to handle it. They can trust you with it, and you will get the job done. So that's also very key, and it just shows the level of excellence the person has. The other thing is it's that reliability factor. I've seen it with clients, I've seen it with colleagues, with my bosses. Um, at different points in time of my life, and being able to be relied upon, where somebody would say that, oh, I trust you to get this job done by so time, that alone is a stamp of assurance on your skills, your attitude, your abilities, and that person can even give you more than you had even bargained for. So if you are not reliable, people would not trust you with more. So, and those are the skills that I believe set people apart. Teachability, and then being willing to go the extra mile, and then being reliable.
Thank you very much for that. Teachability, the willingness to go the extra mile, and reliability. I want to touch on reliability real quick. I had a conversation with Bukayo Ewosho. He's the head of business at PC. He touched very much about being reliable, and he gave an example in the American Navy SEAL where they look for two things: people with skill and people with trust. As a matter of fact, so they put them on a spectrum, maybe like, for example, skill 0 to 10, and they put trust to a 0 to 10. So what he said was that if you have an average skill set and you are somebody of trust, that maybe you're a 9 or a 10 or a 8 or a 7, whatever, that they will consider you more in the recruitment process than somebody who can just like ace through things, but they know they can't trust that kind of person. And because the military is a high trust environment where lives are involved, that's very much the reason why set parameters are set within the recruitment process. And him talking about it within the marketing sphere, and you talking about it now, gives it a stamp of approval, because looking back at my career, some of the people I've spoken with on this podcast are some of the people, a few of them I've actually worked with in the past. And the people I extended my invitation with are the people who never let me down. And if for some reason, there's always a very strong rationale for them not being able to deliver, which is actually very rare. What people don't seem to understand, that the more you deliver, it improves, one, your credibility, and also likability, and
Yeah.
finally it improves the room for error. When things go bad,
Mhm.
people can
Yeah.
actually understand the reason why things didn't go in the desired way. Thank you for touching on that. So this now segues into, we just didn't pop out of our mother's wombs and became managers of companies or business owners. If you are going to be doing it all over again, what are the, knowing what you know now, what are the steps that you would skip that will able to get you where you are faster than that's taking you to get here now?
Mm. Wow. I- I've never actually thought about this question before, and I think it's really key. I would say that I would pay more for mentorship early on than doing it later. For me, as a business owner, I didn't prioritize things like structure, operations, and the likes that would have helped me to scale faster. I didn't prioritize having a coach, like a business or marketing coach, to just tell me, oh, you are doing this in a certain way. You could have just done this differently and you would get this better result. So if I were to do this all over again, I would early on invest in mentorship and coaching, because I always say this, that if somebody somewhere has already solved the problem, they found a solution to it, why are you trying to find another solutions in where you can just ask them for that solution, or you can actually just pay for it, and then it will give you so many steps ahead. So yes, I think that's key that I would do. And the other thing I would do is to, I would say, maybe learn different aspects of digital marketing more, because one thing that most people may not know when you're going into digital marketing or choosing it as a career path is that there's so many aspects. It's rare to see somebody who has mastered everything 100%. It's very, very rare. And you have to perhaps pick your own path and then be known for that path. However, what I would say is also knowing some other aspects, even if you are knowing it just to be able to hire somebody for that role, or you are knowing it just to be able to know what success looks like when there are marketing efforts in that area. So for me, it's just spreading my net wide to just learn some things, but then having a focus, right, which is key, but then knowing some things about other things, that is key for me as well. So those are the two things that I would have done differently.
You just hit it on the head. And two things: mentorship and trying to be a generalist as much as possible. I want to talk about mentorship. Though I didn't pay for mentorship, I stumbled upon that, and it's actually the reason why where I am now, being able to work with somebody who genuinely cares about your career and your growth. Pretty much, there's no decision I make right now that doesn't run by this individual, because we have this tendency to think that now we get sense pass. But in as much I pride myself for wanting to understanding what I'm always getting myself into, there is always that blind side. And this person covers that blind side extensively on a 10-minute WhatsApp call. Boom. You've gotten that tech talk that can actually change the direction of how you think or how you're assessing the problem that you tend to solve or that you're about to go into. So mentorship is it's very important. The other part is diversification of knowledge within your field. Within our marketing space, there's this silent civil war that goes between content and paid media. Like content also often feel that like they are like superior because content is actually what people see, and paid is like, dude, you are not moving anywhere if we don't know how to push what you've created. As someone who is like who has a paid media background in performance marketing, and the way the algorithm is changing real quick with the emergence of platforms like TikTok, Instagram copying TikTok and creating reels. In the last 3 years, there has been more reward for content being created, particularly on social media, where the platforms are giving content that resonates, organic push to virality that even when you have all the money in the world, you might not be able to get those numbers. So looking at it now, though my previous role before now, I was able to work on a lot of organic content, but I also still wish that I am a content nerd as much as I can, even though I'm a numbers nerd. I'm sorry. I wish that I could do it as much as the guys that are creating what we promote.
Sorry, which is why I actually mentioned that, because for me it's quite the opposite. I'm more of a content person. Like I said, mentorship and coaching, right? I had paid for just being like mentored by somebody before now, when I was still like early in my business. That was done, but I didn't do it the way I ought to have done it. But now, like recently, looking back, if I had done much in that area, perhaps I would have understood that there are other areas to being a business owner. There are other areas to kind of like cover as well. And then coaching. So now when it comes to content and paid ads, I always say that for me, I'm content all day, any day, right? Because there's no paid media, paid ads, or whatever without content. What do you want to even advertise if there's no content, right? Because you still need content. So, but then as a business owner, I realized that I have to even have knowledge of this as well, because if I don't have knowledge of it, how would I know how to help my clients in that area? So that's it. even if I want to be a content specialist or field of digital marketing specialist, I still need to have an idea of some part. Because if I want to hire a paid ad specialist, for instance, what questions will I ask them? So I need to have some background, right? So yeah.
So speaking of, you talked about you guys are king. That's what you just basically told us. Now content is king. We get it. You rub it in our faces. That's okay. So in terms of projects, do you want to highlight the kind of projects that you've worked on in the past? Your most proud projects that you want. This might be your opportunity to push a shameless plug for corporately lucid. So do you want to talk about it?
So let me just talk about what we do and then how we kind of like stand out. And while we were starting, we set out to just be like more of communications. You know, when you think of corporate communications for a business owner, and you want to outsource that, then you can think of the corporate PVC. However, going in to the business, we are seeing that there's so many people who actually have great ideas, great products, great services, but the missing link is knowing how to package those ideas and then sell it or to the right people who need to know about those things. And one thing that we have done so far that I've really gladdened my heart as a founder is that we've been able to work across several industries. And for me, I never thought that would have been possible. For instance, now we work with companies who deal with IT and cybersecurity. We work with churches, we work with associations, we work with people in healthcare industry, work with beauty, food. So it's like different, even personal brands as well, because it's just like there's a lot that's obtainable for us in the market. So being able to adapt to different industries and help them to achieve their goals, for me that's something, and that is really what worth mentioning. The other thing is we've seen people go from, oh, I never thought that I had this in me. That's for personal brands that we manage. What they will say, oh, I never thought that, oh, that I had this in me. But then we're able to unearth those things and then position it for them in a way that they are proud of it. We've worked with personal brands that now they are really masters in their industries. So yes, and then we also work across the globe, not just in Nigeria. And I'm just grateful for the platform.
Okay, guys. So that's our version of come and buy what we are selling. No, so, so whatever it is, corporate didn't say that she just explained to us. They are niched within the services industry. However, because the service industry is has a very broad set of verticals that plug into that industry. So they've been able to work with fashion brands, they've been able to work with personal brands, they've been able to work with non-profit organizations, they've been able to work with cybersecurity companies. So provided that you are a business that requires an agency or an expert and your business is pretty much service focused. Yeah,
Let me
so
also have that. We also work with product businesses like the food. Like we have with us a food brand that they sell their own food products. So we don't say, "Oh, we're not working with you." So far as our values align, but then first we always seek for a service-based business first. But then if you're a product-based business, by all means, we also work with you. Yeah.
all right, guys.
Thank you.
If you are selling food, bring your brand. Yeah. So that's it. Thank you so much for this conversation. So it pretty much relaxed question that I want to ask, and I know it's not relaxed because it is about to put you out of business. AI. It's a very sensitive topic for content creators, content marketers. So tell me about it. What are the upsides for you as a brand, personal brand, for your business? And how do you think this changes things for new entrants into the job market?
Okay. So point of correction, it's not about putting out of business. It's so well the pros of it, I would say, is that, for instance, if you're doing product marketing, AI itself has a lot of benefits for you. Just think of doing your user research. You just want to just research some certain segment of your audience. You want to find out the kind of keywords that you want to use. It just gives you that repository to pull from. And if you are very good with prompt engineering, then you will get the best of AI as a marketer. I think where the issue comes in is that people are not using it the right way that they should use it. And you don't necessarily have to be afraid of it. You just have to say, okay, how can this aid what I'm doing? What are some tasks that I can automate? Because we use a lot of AI on my team, especially for videos. We do a lot of video editing, video marketing, script writing for our clients, and to even generate voiceovers, we use AI to cut our videos. So like there are so many ways for our graphics. Sometimes our clients requires certain kind of design that you know that okay, you need AI generated images for this. We use that for it. So a lot of them, even content editing. So it is about looking at the different pillars of your work as a marketer to say, how can AI help me deliver better? Not that how can AI replace me? Because that's where the problem is. It is how can I get better at what I do by leveraging this tool? And that's what we've been able to do as an agency.
Brilliant. For people who are scared coming into marketing, I would like to set up a business sometime in the future. And as somebody who, in the last couple of weeks, I've worked very closely with one of the leading AI products in the world. And the capability that is about to hit our industry can be scary. But this is the way I look at it. Think of the typewriter. There are several benefits to typewriting, using the typewriter. One, doesn't use electricity. Two, you have like that physical feel, very close to handwriting, and several other things that a typewriter will best define the benefits of writing on a typewriter. But technology and innovation came, and there were applications that were installed on something called a personal computer. And the personal computer allowed people to allow typists to even work much more effectively than working with a typewriter. And if as a typist in the 70s or in the 60s, you chose not to adopt that new way of working, your work is probably done within your industry. But the typists that saw, wow, this is brilliant, I can do 10,000 pages more than I typically would do in a year than using a typewriter. Okay, great. Let me work on being a better typist than I can be using the mechanical machine, and also learn new things you won't even be able to do on a typewriter. That's where we are again when it comes. That's where we are again when it comes to AI. I think, like you said, the companies that will excel in the next decade are the companies that adopts this new way of working much more aggressively, and they are able to derive quality outputs that distinct themselves from others. Those are the companies that will excel. And I actually, from what you said, I actually have strong hopes for Corporate Lucid that you guys are heading in the right direction. So thank you very much for that. So on the final question, what song describes your life right now? Tell us about it.
That's interesting. Wow. I'm not really a song kind of person, but then I listen to some certain songs. I'm more of a podcast person, but then I listen to some certain songs, mostly gospel music. And I would say that the one that best describes my life right now would be See How Far. That's by Victoria Orenze, featuring Nathaniel Bassi and Dusi Onyeko. Yeah. So just talking about see how far God has brought you.
Okay, see Alpha by Nathaniel Bassi and Dusi Oyeko. Do you
So
want?
by Victoria Orenze,
Okay.
featuring Nathaniel Bassi and Dusi Onyeko. Yeah.
Okay, I've not heard of Victoria Orize before, but that's okay. That's the reason why I asked these questions because I want to improve my catalog. And you touched on podcast. What podcast do you think people should listen to that you're listening to right now that you think is very good for people to like binge through?
Wow, there are lots. A whole lots of them. I would say so how I listen to podcasts is depending on what I want to learn in this season. I then look for the resources around that topic, and I just kind of like follow that. Yeah. So currently I'm doing more of leadership, just learning more about leadership. And I've had a whole lot of resources. So I'd say one is Maxwell Leadership Executive Podcast. That's really nice if you really want to learn about leading anything. And then Christian Kane's Live and Leadership Podcast. And then Craig Goshel's Leadership Podcasts. Very, very good. Yeah. I think those are the top three.
All right. So thank you so much for sharing the professional side of you and the personal because that's how far I can go when it comes to your intruding into your personal life. So thank you so much for sharing and coming on this episode. It's always good to have fresh perspective. I wish and I hope that all of this information that is being documented by interesting minds like yours is being looked into and most importantly implemented because it can change the direction of how your entire life can go, not necessarily about your professional life. So thank you very much for joining us on this episode, Aisha.
Thank you so much for having me. I totally enjoyed myself and I love the conversation. So thank you.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening. Signing out. See the next one. It will be peace.